we're hearing some things from clients and from people that were considering buying in the Austin area. Obviously, if we looked, the market has definitely changed in the last 6 months. I think when we initially, like back in January, February, we were shocked that there was only 1,800 homes in the market. Now there's just about 9,000, which is huge. Kevin, what are you seeing in the market? And then, Ian, I want to hear what we're seeing in the market. And I want to talk about, is Austin overvalued?
Obviously, like you said, there's a lot of houses coming onto the market. It's weird to me because, like, the buyers that I'm working with right now are all looking for specific things, and as many homes as there are on the market, I can't seem to find, what they're looking for. And the stuff that I do find for them has multiple offers still. So, like we looked at houses with a client. Her previous real estate agent didn't do anything for her. I helped her son buy a house. He's like, "Hey, help my mom." She called me. She's like, "Will you help me out?" We looked at a lot of houses. Like today will be my fifth day looking at houses with her, fifth day straight. And we just keep looking at stuff. It's just not good, So I see a lot of people just throwing their houses on the market. I think a lot of sellers feared missing out on the boom, and you see a little tick down and they're like, "Oh man, we got to get our house on the market really fast." And so you see a lot of this inventory is kind of like garbage, to be honest with you. So that's what I'm seeing, but from generally speaking, yeah, it's slower. Like, I'm not going to lie, my business has been a bit slower in the last month.
Well, I mean, I did a video back in March. The title, "Sellers Were Sell Too Late." And it was all talking about the timing in the market. And I basically said in there, if you don't list before June, so in May, you're going to have problems this year. And sure enough, that's exactly what we're seeing. Ian, what else are you seeing?
Man, all sorts of things, like every direction. So I have buyers that had quit for the last year, maybe even 2 years. And I don't know if people know this, but we can see when you're looking at houses if you're looking at using our websites and such. And so I'm seeing them coming back looking. I'm like, that's interesting. People that did buy, and we'll talk about this a little more later, but I have people that are like, "Hey, we bought, we're ready to go. We're ready to get out of here. We're going to sell our house, buy something somewhere else." So that's a big one. And then I still have people that are waiting waiting for their new construction to be completed, where originally the thought was, a handful of months here, and we still don't have a definite date on completion. And it's been, in some cases, 8-9 months. And in two particular cases, 13, 14 months.
Well, this is something I talked about last week when, you weren't here because you were in Mexico. But what I've saw, and I did a short that I didn't put out yet, but basically what we saw is a lot of these builders, they would take contracts back 18 months ago, 16 months ago, and then they would start building those, but then they started building all the inventory homes. And so what they started doing is, instead of trying to get those homes completed, since they had a contract on them, they started working on getting that inventory going. And this is where we ran into an issue. Remember, the Bloomberg guy was like, "Well, hey, are you going to have an issue with inventory?" And all the builders are like, "No, we don't have any inventory." Well, now that inventory is ready. Those sellers or move up buyers, right? Their homes are now having to hit the market because they're finally able to close after 16 months. Their homes are sitting vacant. Did you know half the homes on the market are vacant right now? Out of the 8,900 homes on the market, half are vacant. Half of that is new construction. Half of that is just vacant homes. So you have a lot of homes sitting vacant or getting ready to sit vacant because the homeowner is now moving into the home that they purchased or just closed that with the new build. Yet that inventory is now fighting against the new build inventory. And had they just built the homes they had under contract instead of trying to get greedy, those homeowners, like that, I mean, think about it, a third of our inventory, I'll do the math, but like almost a third of our inventory is new build. I think it's like like 1/4. That's a lot. That's like 2,500 homes.
It's so interesting you mentioned that. Last night I was showing some new buyers, and we were looking at houses, and the builders were actually competing with incentives substantially over these resale homes. And I'm sitting here thinking, I mean, depending on your perspective, which one would you choose, right? Like, you can get this brand new house, right, that the builder is almost done with. They're paying a lot of the closing costs we can talk about that later, being how they're absorbed and everything, but they're offering so much in the way of incentives that you can almost get into the house for some ridiculous price, like a couple $1,000s.
So 2,500 of the homes of the almost 9,000 are, so there's 89, 61 homes. 2,500 are new construction or new.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good
You know what
amount.
else is kind of interesting about that? Have you seen, like, so if you look at the number of active listings, there's actually more listings that have decreased in price than there are new listings. That's kind of interesting. Or either back on market, you start adding those numbers together and it dwarfs the number of new listings.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another interesting stat to play with.
What do you got over there, Kevin?
Oh, no, just, yeah, I mean, I'm looking at some of the comments too, and how to strategize where we are right now. We talked about this actually. I think the first time we saw it was August of last year, right? So we saw this massive like uptick in all the prices and craziness, and then we saw this first little downtick right in August and September, November of last year, where people were like, "Oh, this is the end." And then that we all said, I remember all three of us were like, if you're going to buy, if you were thinking about buying, now is probably a really good time to buy. It's not as competitive. Prices are down just a little bit. Sellers are kind of starting to freak out. That was like a small version of that. And then, obviously the uptick happened again at the beginning of the year. And now we're back in that next lull, but it's before it pops back up again, right? Like the way all this works, it's hard to explain and it doesn't follow it exactly, but the reality is it follows in physics, a mass spring damper curve, right? So like, it pops up and it comes down and then it, over time will level out, right? But when you have momentum that goes up, depending on how much momentum is going up and how much momentum is coming back down again, determines how many times that we'll see this. And buyers and sellers kind of they act in a way in the economy to follow these curves pretty well. So we'll see another, like after this is over and the buyers have been sitting through interest rates stabilize, listings stabilize, buyers feel comfortable coming back into the market, then you're going to see yet another mini sellers market, right? They're going to be coming into all the good houses and try to put offers in on them. And then it's going to swing back down again until it normalizes. So I don't think it's over yet. That's why I'm always hesitant to see like 1 or 2 months of trend and be like, oh, it's over, because it doesn't work like that.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of the thing too is if you think about it, we didn't have any inventory and there was like a FOMO for a long time, right? And now that buyers are slowing down, it's like you now have inventory, your interest rate's higher. You can shop, like you just said, 5th day out showing clients homes.
Yeah.
That's insane. If you did that 6 months ago, you would just be wasting your time.
Totally.
So it's nice to have inventory. I just find it funny that people you can't have both ways, right? You can't have low interest rates and low prices. Well, it's just not going to happen. And the right home or like right conditions. You're not going to have one of those three things. And right now we don't have low interest rates. So I think it's good that buyers can be a little more choosy. I 100%. I like that. But at a certain point too, it's like if you're totally going to leave the market because you think it's going to crash, I mean, what do they say? Rent is 100% interest rate or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching this short of the Real Amigos podcast. For more live streams, hit here. For more clips, hit here. We'll catch you on the next one.